From the tallest people in the world to amazing heroes. Stay tuned to number 1 to find out about 10 real-life giants. Number 10. The Potsdam Giants. This may not be an individual giant, but it was a group of them per se. You see, the idea of having a large, intimidating fighting force is something many desire, but few took this as far as King Frederick I did. The former ruler of the nation of Prussia once had the idea to create the largest unit ever conceived for war. Not in terms of numbers, mind you, but in literal size. He wanted a unit of giants, and he did all he could to make it happen. Called the Potsdam Giants, King Frederick did indeed assemble a large group of very tall men. But he didn't stop with just the guys who were easily recruitable. When he found some he couldn't just recruit, he used his wits and money to get them on his side, making his unit even bigger. And he did not want to stop. He wanted this unit to last for generations, literally. So he actually had his men mate with tall women in order to increase the odds of breeding another tall man. Here's where things get a little bit ironic though. You see, the unit never actually made it into the field of combat. Ever. Many noted that King Frederick used them more as a morale booster of sorts, rather than the grand fighting unit that they were supposed to be. Sure enough, when King Frederick passed away, the unit was let go so more practical military units could be brought in. Number 9. Fyodor Makhno. The year was 1878, when Fyodor Makhno was born, and from an early age people knew that something was very different about this kid, mainly because he kept growing and growing and growing. In fact, by the time he was 14, he was already 6 foot 7 inches, which is already way above the average height for a human. Yet he still wasn't done growing, and by the time he had fully matured and grown, he was an astounding 8 foot 2. He was so tall that Fyodor Makhno had to have clothes custom made for him because the standard size just wouldn't work for him. As a career, he decided to join the circus, which makes sense when you think about it, or seeing a giant in Russia was not only worth the money, but a great story to tell. On the genetic side of things, Fyodor Makhno was so tall that he was considered the crown jewel of many scientists, all of whom tried to get him to sign his body over to them when he passed away, so they could study how he got so tall. He refused all of them. Thankfully for him, he did find happiness outside of work. He married a woman named Efrosina Lebedeva, and they had 4 children together. Unfortunately though, and likely due to his size, he passed away at the early age of 34. Number 8. Yao Ming. Before we talk about this incredible story, take a moment to like this video and join the Zero to Hero community by using the buttons below. When it comes to basketball, especially the NBA, you sometimes want a massively tall guy in the center position to protect the basketball and get the ball back to your team. There have been many, many tall men in the game, but few were as tall as the legendary Yao Ming. Product of China, Yao Ming came to America to play with the Houston Rockets and played for them his entire career. He was 7 foot 7 and remarkably good at basketball. He had won championships back home in Shanghai, and so when he was made available to be drafted, the Houston Rockets took him as their first pick. Despite what people believe though, he was not the tallest player ever in the NBA. However, that being said, he was one of the most popular. The idea of a giant coming from China was exciting for some reason, and so Yao got many endorsement deals and was one of the faces of the NBA during his career. While he never did get that championship ring in the NBA, he did make quite an impact, and was selected to the All-NBA team 5 times, and was an NBA All-Star multiple times. For the Rockets franchise, Yao Ming is their 6th leading scorer, 6th leading rebounder, and 2nd in blocks. Number 7. Adam Rayner. A more tragic story of a giant. Adam Rayner was honestly not born a giant, but rather a dwarf. In fact, his major growth spurt didn't happen until he was 21 years old. Before then, he was only 4 foot 6, and soon after turning 21, he quickly grew to be 7 foot 1 inches in no time flat. He actually had to have surgery to try and stop his growth, but it didn't work. What's more, his body basically rejected his giantness, so he slowly began to deteriorate health-wise. His spine was curved, he went blind in one eye and deaf in one ear. He would eventually succumb to the injuries when he was 51 years old. Number 6. Yao Defun. What is interesting about giants is that sometimes it's genetics that make it happen. Other times they have health issues that result in massive growth. You see, in the body there are glands that determine how much you can do something. One of them, the pituitary gland, helps regulate how tall you will be. For a woman named Yao Defen, she was a giant because of a tumor on her pituitary gland, which forced her to keep growing. She ended up being 7 feet 8 inches tall by the time she had the tumor removed from her. Sadly, the damage was already done though, and she passed away when she was only 40 years old. Number 5. Sandy Allen. Known as the tallest woman in the United States history, Sandy Allen was an unbelievable 7 foot 7 inches tall. While many would have used that height to literally build themselves up in the world, Allen wasn't that kind of person. In fact, she was very self-aware of how tall she was, and that really affected her and her life. So much so that she did an interview once and said she wished she hadn't have been this tall. She actually blamed her height for why she never got married or had children. When she was 51, her health started to decline, and she had to move into a special home to suit her needs, and unfortunately, she passed away soon after. Number 4. Hofbord Julius Bjornsson. You might not recognize the name Hofbord Julius Bjornsson, but if you've ever watched the Game of Thrones, you'll definitely know the name The Mountain. This beast of a man is a bodybuilder turned actor and is not only 6'9", but is one of the most imposing figures in all of the world. Seriously, just look at him. He's ripped from head to toe. That build has earned him many roles, including his iconic role in the Game of Thrones, where he was the personal champion of the House Lannister, and in one legendary scene, he ripped a man's skull in two with his bare hands. Ironically though, Hofbjord Julius Bjornsson is really a nice guy in real life, and he even used his fame and size to do spoofs on how big he is. Oh, and he's also the world's strongest man, as dubbed in 2018. Number 3. Married Giants. When you think about giants, you often have to wonder how they'll find love if they don't meet someone their size. Well, ironically, there was at least one giant couple in history, and their names were Martin Van Buren Bates and Anna Hanning Bates. Both of them were incredibly tall. Anna was 7 foot 6 inches, and Martin was said to be anywhere between 7'3" and 7'7". They were both circus acts because of their size, and when they got married, they were paraded around as the largest married couple in the world. Number 2. Shaquille O'Neal. Another one of the smaller giants, Shaquille O'Neal is no doubt one of the most famous and popular big men in all of sports. Standing over 7 foot 1 inches tall, Shaq was an imposing child from the get-go. He was regularly mistaken for an adult when he was just a teenager due to his height. And by the time he went to SLU, he was already massive, which helped that basketball team out immensely. In 1992, Shaq, as he would later be known, would be the first overall pick in the NBA draft, going to the Orlando Magic. He made an instant impact with the team and led them to the NBA Finals his rookie year. While he didn't win it there, he would win it 4 more times, including creating a dynasty in Los Angeles via the Lakers. He teamed up with Kobe Bryant and made a duo that many thought would last a career, but it didn't end that way. Shaq later went to the Miami Heat and won a ring there with Dwayne Wade, and later on would go from team to team in order to try to achieve more. Shaq is one of the biggest and heaviest players in the history of the NBA, but just as giant as his body was his personality. He was very childlike, despite being a big man, and that won him praise and sponsors the world over. Even though he's retired now, Shaq is still one of the biggest stars in the world. You'll find him on TV breaking down NBA games, on commercials for various products, and even the owner of several successful businesses. One does not simply doubt the power of Shaquille O'Neal. Number 1. Andre the Giant. While he may not have been the tallest giant in the world, as you've seen by now, there is only one man in very recent history who was so tall, so bulky, so strong, and so huge that he was truly called Giant. This is the story of Andre the Giant. Born Andrei Roussimoff in France, his size soon became very evident to all who saw him. When he was only 18, he was brought into the wrestling business after moving to Paris and meeting a promoter in a production. Back in those days, wrestlers weren't known for their superior wrestling skills. Instead, they were taught to be very muscular and imposing. Andre had that by default, and the promoters knew that. He eventually went on to Canada and became an instant superstar there. Everyone wanted to come and see Andre the Giant. Eventually, he would make his way to the World Wrestling Federation, and for 14 years he had an undefeated streak because Vince McMahon Sr. knew exactly how to bill him. He was one of the most impressive wrestlers in the world, and he had the size and imposing personality that made him beloved by the fans. He also helped make the WWF a worldwide sensation. The legendary match between him and Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 3 is still considered one of the biggest and most important matches in wrestling history. And it was, ironically, Andre's first loss of his career. However, this all came at a cost. His body was not able to handle all the stress and physical labor that wrestling had him do, and by the time he was just 46, he passed away due to congestive heart failure. Still, his legacy lives on. The 7'4" giant is still honored and respected in the WWF successor, WWE, and the official Hall of Fame for the brand was started with a single inauguration, Andre the Giant. Although my favorite of his roles will always be Fezzik from The Princess Bride. What do you think about these amazing giants? Let us know in the comments below and take care.